let's have a theorem. So I am going rather just count it this thing. I belongs to lambda is an orthonormal set in Hilbert space H. Lambda over here is an indexing set. Then for any x belonging to H, x minus summation Ej, let's say Ei, this thing is perpendicular to Ej for each j belonging to lambda. So what we are saying is that given an orthonormal set, if you take any x in H, then what we can do is that if you look at this object over here, x minus summation in a product of x with Ei, this object is perpendicular to Ej. So let's try to prove this thing. So try to see the summation where it is happening. So proof. So as before, we take look at the fact summation x Ej or x Ei, okay. So we try to the fact question. So we are trying to so let's figure out how the summation. So S is what? As previously, it is a collection of those Ei such that inner product of x with Ei is non-zero. Okay. We have seen that S could be either an empty set or S would be finite or countably infinite. It would be countably infinite. Okay. If S is empty set, we define the summation as 0. That is, this is this summation in product of x with Ai over this thing. This is an empty sum. Hence, this is 0 and this is just plain x. So, rather, let's write properly. X minus summation in the product of x with Ei. This is nothing but just plain x. This becomes what? This is equal to 0. Okay. If S is finite, is a finite set, then let's say enumerate it E1, E2, E3, En. Then what happens is that x minus summation in a product of x with Ei ei, I going from 1 to n. This object is what, let's try to look at this thing. So this becomes a finite sum. So this summation, let's say first we move x from here. So the summation x with ei, this is there, this is I belonging to lambda. This summation is, we define it as this finite sum. Rearrangement is not an issue here. Is not an issue, as finite sums in vector spaces are commutative and well defined. Okay. This becomes this thing. So x minus this thing is nothing but this becomes x minus this. Okay. If x is infinite, countably infinite, if x is countably infinite, then we can have look at one particular ordering of the set, we say E1, E2 and so on. Since countable, we can enumerate. So enumerate one particular order we are putting. So we need to check later. All rearrangements are behave well. So fix an order on the countably infinite set S. Okay, where S is what? Maybe say, let's say in this way, enumerating it E1, E2, E3 and so on. We consider the summation in the product of x with ei, I going from 1 to infinity, this summation. Okay. This is defined over what? As in the partial sums. What would be the partial sum? The first partial sum would be in a product of x with E1 with E1. The second partial sum, S2 would be the summation of this thing, x with E1 plus x with E2 and continuing so on. So Sn would be what? It would be summation in a product of x with ei, I going from 1 to n. That's it. So we have this partial sums and this Sn. Each of this object is in H. Sn converts to what the object. So let's see this thing. This by the basis inequality we have seen. This is in a countable case this exists and these Sn converts to object over this thing. So the Sn converts to this thing. Okay. How? Let's look at the point is that in the finite case that was clearly the case. Let's try to prove it infinite. So we'll use the Bessel's inequality itself. So the bound for norm of these things. So our claim is that this Sn converges to this thing. Okay. So what do we have? So Sn is summation I going from 1 to n in a product of x with ei. Okay. So, let's look at the cochiness of the sequence. So the claim is that the sequence Sn, n going from 1 to infinity, is a Cauchy sequence. So given epsilon greater than 0, there exists n belonging to a set of natural number. That is what we want to show, such that for all m and n greater than equal to n, what should imply that norm of Sm minus Sn, this should be less than epsilon. So the Bessel's, let's try the Bessel's inequality first. So let's try to show this thing. So what is the Bessel's inequality for the infinite case? The Bessel's inequality for infinite cases summation I going from 1 to infinity of this thing x with ei square. This is what less than equal to norm of x square. Okay. So I have this object. This is true. So we'll use this fact that the convergence, this series, it's a positive term series and so on. Okay. So take suppose m and n. The capital N over here will be coming from the convergence of this sequence over here. Given epsilon greater than 0, there exists n such that for all n greater than or equal to n, what would happen? This series is converging is that norm of, will be suppose the sum of the series is s, summation x with ei whole square, I going from 1 to n, maybe say p is less than epsilon. Where p is the sum of this thing. This is a bounded, this is a positive term series. So note that is a non-negative scalar in the field F. Okay. So that could certainly happen. This is happening and so on. So the sum p is the sum of this series. Okay. So that Sn, so if suppose I have this thing, so take this n, whatever this n is there. If m and n greater than or equal to this capital N occurring from above this n, then, and if further, without loss of generality, if suppose m is greater than or equal to n, then norm of Sm minus Sn, this is what? This is summation I going from 1 to m of inner product of x with ei minus summation I going from 1 to n in a product of x with ei. Here m is there and n is there. Now what cancels? The cancellation, what happens over here is the following. Is that the n terms vanishes. So the norm of Sm minus Sn is nothing but summation I going from n plus 1 to m of inner product of x with ei. Now note the following things, that the set ei is orthonormal set, and x with ei, this set is also orthonormal. Orthogonal rather. Orthogonal is the word, with the point that this is just since the object in a product of x with ei is what is the scaling, okay, of ei. So the dot product of with any other distinct object, if I not equal to j, that is clearly 0. So clearly, if I not equal to j, then x with ei is perpendicular to x with ej. Okay, so this is the case. Now, because this is orthogonal, what can be used over here is that if you square Sm minus Sn square, okay, so this square is this square, and by the Pythagoras theorem, we have that this summation over here, that becomes what? That is summation norm of the product of x with ei whole square and norm of ei square. I going from n plus 1 to m. You have these terms over here, and the point is that what do we have over here? Since ei orthonormal, so they have length 1. This clearly implies that this is nothing but summation I going from n plus 1 to m of inner product of x with ei whole square. This is norm of Sm minus Sn whole square. This is this. Now clearly the summation is p. So what we have over here is that norm of Sm minus Sn whole square would be what? And this is the summation I going from n plus 1 to m of inner product of x with ei whole square, which would be adding some terms. So this would be less than equal to summation I going from 1 to infinity inner product of x with ei, this norm square, and this summation is p. The point is that this term over here, so rather what we can look at is that we can have over here the following: I is equal to n plus 1 to infinity, the summation over this thing, what is happening. Now, if you look at this object, so n terms are removed. If n terms are removed, that series what minus p was less than epsilon, whatever the summation this thing. So this clearly implies that norm of Sn minus Sn whole square would be less than epsilon square in this case. This would be less than epsilon. You see, this thing is clearly the following case. This difference is nothing but summing of I going from 1 to n in a product of x with ei whole square minus p. If you look at this term, these are these terms. P is the sum of this thing, infinite sum. So we are removing the n term, so that is clearly less than epsilon, and this norm over here, this is clearly less than epsilon, so this is less than epsilon square. Okay. So this implies that norm of Sn minus Sn, this is less than epsilon. So the sequence Sm is the Cauchy sequence in H. That clearly implies that the Cauchy sequence. So Sn converges to the limit. So Sn naturally converges to what? I going from 1 to infinity x with ei, the limit function. So this converges to this. So this is the limit of the sequence. This summation, what is defined? Okay. You can call this sum as S. Maybe say. So Sn converges to S. It's easy to see that in a product of x minus s with any other ej or any j, this is nothing but in a product of x with ej minus in a product of s with ej. But in a product of s with ej is nothing but the limit of the following sequence. So Sn converges to S. So in a product of Sn with Ej, this converges to S comma Ej. So the point is that in a product of Sn with Ej, so what is in a product of Sn with Ej? So Sn with Ej would be all of the terms. So Sn itself is having a summation I going from 1 to n. X with Ej, right? Yeah, Ej and j going from 1 to n. So all the terms will vanish, will be 0 except those terms with Ej. So this would come outside. So the point is that this would be Ej with Ej and its coefficients. So x with Ej is there. So this is s with Ej. So the point is that this is x with Ej, x with Ej. So s with Ej is nothing but the value of s with Ej is x with Ej. So if you whatever this x is there chosen from H, any, and then it is fixed, then what we get is the following from S. So we could write that this is nothing but x with Ej minus in a product of x with Ej. This is what? This is 0. This is 0. Okay. So another way to look at this thing is that you can have limit Sn with Ej. This would be the same thing as limit of Sn with Ej. But the only term surviving here would be what then? The question x with Ej in a product of Ej with Ej. If in a product of Ej with Ej is 1, this is just x with Ej. That is what we use. So indeed what we have shown is that x minus s is indeed perpendicular to Ej for all j, where s is equal to summation, one particular order, this was x with ei. Now let's talk about what happens for rearrangement. Suppose let's rearrange the terms as maybe f1, f2, and maybe say fn dot 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 and so on. So this is nothing but one rearrangement of the order E1, E2, and so on. So this is one particular rearrangement. Now, so for this particular thing, our Sn is what? This summation inner product of x with ei, I going from 1 to n. For this particular thing, this would be Sn dash. That would be summation I going from 1 to n inner product of x with fi. Okay. I have this Sn, I have this Sn dash. What we will eventually show is that s is equal to s dash. Our s here would be summation inner product of x with ei, and s dash is equal to summation inner product of x with fi. So we will show that s is equal to s dash. Okay. A simple way to look at it is that there exists a stage. In naturals corresponding to the following thing. So the summation inner product of x with ei, I going from 1 to n. This converges to this summation inner product of x with ei. This is our s. This is Sn converging to s. There exists what? Another stage. A stage in naturals such that summation I going from 1 to n in a product of x with fi, and this converges to what? Summation x with fi. Okay. Now the third thing is what? The third thing is this series I going from 1 to infinity of in a product of x with ei, this square, and this is this thing. So the sum of the series. So if you write here over n, this is what? This converges to summation I going from 1 to infinity in a product of x with ei norm square. The point is that so there exists a stage of naturals in naturals. Okay. So it would be n1 over here, this would be n2 over here, and this would be n3 over here. So what happens is that let n be the maximum of these three things. So let n be the maximum of the n1, n2, n3. Then what happens is that Sn converges to s, Sn dash converges to s dash, and summation I going from n plus 1 to infinity, or rather let's say I going from 1 to or more precisely we can say that n plus 1 x with ei whole square up to infinity. This term is less than epsilon. So where n is greater than equal to this capital N. These three things are there. So we'll use these three things to prove the following fact, that S minus S dash. So proof. Norm of S minus S dash, this is equal to adding the terms S minus Sn plus Sn minus Sm plus Sm minus S dash. So Sm dash this. Then norm of S minus S dash is certainly this term, and this term. So this is less than equal to norm of S minus Sn plus norm of Sn minus Sm dash plus norm of Sm dash minus S dash. Okay. Now the point is that what can be done is that additionally you can choose this n is there, n is greater than equal to n. So choose, so let's say that we'll fix this thing. So n is there greater than equal to n. If I have the term m, so choose m so large. There exists a large m such that all terms which is say e1, e2 and so on, en, they occur in the terms f1, f2, f1. So since this is a finite set, so once we have this thing, so what we can say is that if m is larger than n and even more larger, that all terms are here. So what does this become is that this term would be less than epsilon, this term would be also less than epsilon, and this term over here would be what? The n terms are removed. It is f1, f2, f3, fm rather than fn plus 1, fn plus 2, n plus 3, and so on, so on, so on. So this would be summation, norm of summation from n plus 1 to m inner product of x with ei square plus an epsilon over here. Now the terms over here, what are they? The terms over here, they are nothing but less than epsilon plus summation n plus 1 up to infinity of inner product of x with ei this term square plus epsilon. Now, but this is less than epsilon. So what do we get? We get from here that s minus s dash, this is strictly less than epsilon plus epsilon plus epsilon, which is 3 epsilon. Since epsilon is arbitrary, this implies that norm of s minus s dash, this is 0. The moment this is 0, so S would become what? S dash. S would become S dash. So the point is that we have shown that equality indeed occurs. So let's define, this finishes this part of the proof. So let's talk what do we mean by a complete orthonormal set. So the collection, the set of the orthonormal set. So if S is a family of what? Maybe suppose EI lambda, such that EI I is an orthonormal set in Hilbert space H. This is the case. Then F is poset with respect to inclusion. F is a poset with respect to inclusion. If it is a poset with respect to inclusion, then what do we get? Is that the maximal set, is the maximal orthonormal set and is called by the name complete orthonormal set. The complete orthonormal set. So you cannot add anything more to the set. So extension is not, and then you can do that. So there could be several complete orthonormal sets. Could exist since maximal is not maximum. Okay. So what does it mean is that you cannot just add one more set and so on. Yes. The previous proposition, what does it say? It says that given orthonormal set, if you take any x, then x minus summation inner product of x with ei, this is again perpendicular to ei for all I. This is again also perpendicular. So this is producing a new perpendicular set. You adjoin or you put in the set, new set by taking union, and then again it gives this one. Orthonormal set. So let's look at the following thing, theorem. Let H be Hilbert space let EI be an orthonormal set in H, then the following are equivalent. So the first condition is the set EI is complete set. The second one is that x perpendicular to EI implies x is 0. The third condition is x is an arbitrary vector image in H, then X is in fact the summation X with EI, EI. And the fourth condition, let's write here. The fourth condition is that if X is any vector, X is any arbitrary vector in H, then the norm of X square is the summation X with EI whole square, I going from, so we'll just define this as S was the case, so we'll just symbolically this is the case. So what we want to prove that 1 implies 2 implies 3 implies 4. So let's try to prove that 1 implies 2. EI is complete. So let's prove that 1 implies 2. So given the set EI is complete. If there exists X not equal to 0 in H such that X is perpendicular to EI, the set EI. Okay. Let's consider, we can do it the following: X upon norm of X is a vector with unit norm, and what would happen is that it's perpendicular to the set, and let's say orthogonal to EI, the following set. So this is a contradiction. This to the maximality of or the completeness of this thing. This is complete. If we adjoin, we can just adjoin. So the point is that if you look at the set EI and just take union with X upon norm X, this is again a new orthonormal set bigger than the original. So the point is that clearly if we assume contrary to, so assuming not 2, we are getting a contradiction. So 2 must be true. So 1 implies 2. Now let's look at the case 2 implies 3. Two implies 3. The 2 implies 3 case is so I have that X is perpendicular to the set EI implies what X is equal to 0. This is given. But the previous supposition, if we look at X minus summation in product of X with EI, this by previous theorem, this is perpendicular to EI. But if this is the another vector belonging to H, this is perpendicular to EI, so this is perpendicular to the set also, orthogonal to this thing. So this clearly implies that this is 0. So X minus summation in a product of X with EI must be 0, thereby implying X must be equal to summation in a product of X with EI. Okay. So this is the case, and so 2 implies 3. Now we'll come to later discussion about this. What is this object? This summation is in fact not the usual sum in H, because if it is a countable, so it's in the limiting sense. So if it is finite, if S is empty or finite, it's just the plain sum, or finite, the plain sum, or it is nothing but this means is that X minus summation in a product of X with EI, this is the case. that this is tending to 0 as a limiting process. Okay. So this is 2 implies 3. Now let's say 3 implies 4. So 3 implies 4 is that that's right. 3 implies 4. That given x is equal to summation x with ei for all x belonging to h. Okay. So what we want to prove is that we want to find the norm of x square. Norm of x square. By the continuity of the inner product. Okay. So how to find this thing? This would be nothing but inner product of x with x. This is by here. This would be inner product of summation x with ei, comma summation inner product of x with ei. Okay. I have this thing. What could be done here is that this would be as a summation things ei, those things which are not perpendicular. Double sum is there, summing over things. This double sum becomes just a single sum. A single sum would be there, inner product of x with ei, comma, then here would be ei, and then inner product of x with ei. If this comes outside in the first place, this is over I one term, and this comes in the this here with the conjugate. So with the conjugate means what do we have? We have that this is summation over I inner product of x with ei, inner product of x with ei bar, inner product of ei. Inner product of ei with ei is in fact what? This is 1, and the product of this thing is nothing but bar is their complex conjugate. So this is absolute value the square. This becomes summation inner product of x with ei. This is square. This is 3 implies 4. Now let's consider the 4 implies 1. So we want to show, assuming this identity, and we want to show that this is a complete orthonormal set. So 4 implies 1. The last thing what we want to show. So x is in h. Any, what we can do is that norm of x square. This is what? Summation inner product of x with ei whole square, right? This is given. And what we want to prove, this is a complete orthonormal set. Okay. Suppose not. So if ei is not complete, then there exists proper subset. So there exists an orthonormal set, which is, this is nothing but ei, such a e exists, e belonging to h exists. This would be proper subset. Now this, so e singleton ei, so all the elements ei I belong to lambda, so all those elements extra at e element. So what would happen after this thing? I have an orthonormal set. This is not complete. I have an orthonormal set. Substitute this value over here. So x is any. Take x is equal to e in this equation, star maybe. So if I put there, so what do I get? If I put there, I get that norm of e whole square must be summation inner product of e with ei this square. But e is, this is an orthonormal set. Inner product of ei with e square is 0. So this is 0. That clearly is what? So that gives that norm of e square. Let's rub it off. So this implies that norm of e square is 0, thereby implying that e norm of e, this is 0, thereby implying that e is the 0 vector in h. The 0 vector in h. And but that is a contradiction. because it's an orthonormal set, and orthonormal set cannot contain 0. It's a unit length. E must be unit length vector. The norm of E must be 1. This is a contradiction. And if this is a contradiction, hence contradiction to the contrary position. So what we get is that 1 implies 2 implies 3 implies 4. Let's write it down once more. So what do we have is that it's a completely orthonormal set, that the set EI is complete orthonormal set. Second, for any x, if x is perpendicular to EI's, this implies x is 0. Third condition is that x minus summation x with EI minus EI, this is 0. Or other way is that x is summation in a product of x with EI. This is just like a vector space representation, that every vector can be written as the summation of orthonormal sets, but this summation, if this is countable in the sense countable sum, then this is in the norm sum, then this convergence in the norm, that is what should be noted. And the fourth one is that if x is any vector in H, what does this imply is that the square of the norm, this is the Parseval's identity, this is called as this thing, x with EI whole square. So that finishes this part. Some terminology. So what do you mean by a Fourier coefficient? So the terms, if you have an orthonormal set, suppose this is given a orthonormal set, if this is an orthonormal set, then in a product of x with EI, if you take this thing, is called as the Fourier coefficient. And this is the Fourier series in a product of x with EI, the Fourier expansion rather. And the term, this is the Parseval's identity, norm of x square, summation in a product x with EI. So this is called as the Parseval's identity. Okay. So what I would say is that last thing, which is the Gram-Schmidt orthonormalized question. Orthogonalization process. So what is the Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization? If x is any vector in H, x is non-zero, what we can certainly do is that if we call E1 as x upon norm of x, then unit vector is there, the norm is 1, and clearly the set E1 is orthonormal set. So if this is not complete, we can extend it. How we can extend it? By this process. What do we do is that we consider the following: x minus in a product of x with E1. So this would be an this vector would be perpendicular what? By the previous thing, this would be perpendicular to E1. Okay. So let's call this vector E2 as nothing but x minus in a product of x with E1 upon norm of x minus in a product of x with E1. We have this one, and the norm of E2 is what? The norm of E2 is 1. E2 is perpendicular to 1. So we have this set. This is E1 and E2 is orthonormal set. Orthonormal set. If this is not complete, this can be extended. And what would be the procedure? You just look at the following. The third vector would be what? E1, E2 is there. So E3x minus, so E1 and E2 is there. So we have to just look at the vector x minus inner product of x with e1 e1 minus inner product of x with e2 with e2. So this is the third vector. If this is perpendicular to e1 and also perpendicular to e2, so e3 will be what? X minus inner product of x with e1 e1 minus inner product of x with e2 e2 divided by the norm of x minus inner product of x with e1 e1 minus inner product of x with e2 e2, the norm of this thing. This is our e3 and e4. Okay. So continuing this, so in general En would be what? En would be the following. En would be x minus summation inner product of x with ei I going from 1 to n minus 1 divided by norm of x minus summation I going from 1 to n minus 1 x with ei. Take this thing and then you have e1 e2 e3, this set union with en, which is the following set, which is e1 e2 e3 en. So this is the Gram-Schmidt orthonormalization. So this can be extended. So this is if it becomes complete. If complete, this is the case. If not, we can consider this thing and so on. So you can apply this thing. So many examples are there, which is from the Legendre polynomial and from capital L2 spaces. You can also read that because the Fourier series is there, some examples from the Fourier series also. So this you have seen already in linear algebra. So let's stop this.